DreAllDay.com.
What's good, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Today I want to talk about note taking. Now, when I was in school, I wasn't big on taking notes. When I say taking notes, I'm talking about, when you're listening to something, learning something, writing it down so you can study it, remember it, hopefully eventually apply it, because life itself is going to be the test. It's not going to be a test like in school where you got the Scantron or the quiz and you get a grade, but life itself is a test. You get a grade in that based on what you consider to be successful. I'm talking about taking notes when it comes to not school, but when you're doing things like watching a YouTube video, or at least the videos that you watch for enrichment, for actually learning. If you're watching a video like this, then you're a person who's into learning and personal development and making yourself smarter, making yourself better. I'm talking about these kind of videos, not the stuff you watch for, not like the Breakfast Club or somebody's podcast where it's just people talking shit and being funny. And I'm not saying there's not value in that, because people like to be entertained, but I'm talking about when you step into learning mode, getting better mode. Listen to my podcast, or some podcasts is about getting better and getting smarter, even if it's an interview podcast or a video like this where it could be an interview or just somebody talking, taking notes on the things that you take in. Because if you really think about it, 90%, and this is being generous, 90% of the material people take in off of YouTube videos and podcasts and whatever else you listen to that you say is really useful and valuable because it's making you smarter and getting you better, 90% of it people forget what they even heard, forget what you even learned, forget the inspiration that you had in that moment, the thing that you took in. And even if you take in something that you remember it for the rest of your life, maybe for that one episode, but the other 99 or 90 out of 100 that you listen to, or 90 out of 100 videos you watch, you're not going to remember anything that got said. How many times have you taken in something that you thought was great? Information was excellent, the person was on point, they said all the stuff that you needed to hear, and then you did absolutely nothing with what you heard. Absolutely nothing with the information. Probably more times than you can even remember that you didn't do nothing with the information, because you can't even remember that you took it in the first damn place. So that's the whole point that I'm making here, is about taking notes on the things that you take in. This is not a metaphor. I mean, it's literally taking notes. So if you're watching a YouTube video or you're listening to a podcast, actually opening up the notes app or wherever you like to write stuff down, send yourself a text, whatever is most efficient for you, an email, taking notes on that stuff, writing it down. And let me give you my 3 points that I'm going to give you here so I don't step on myself. Number one, take notes on the things you're listening to. Especially, for example, you listen to a podcast, a YouTube video. Maybe it'll be a little bit more of a challenge because you might be watching a video on your phone. You like to take notes on your phone. But when you listen to a podcast, like an interview podcast, and somebody who's been successful, or they made it to a certain level, they done something that got them on that podcast, that got them interviewed, right? Take notes on what that person is saying. Take notes on the questions that are being asked. Take notes on the points that they make. Take notes on anything that just strikes a chord with you that you want to remember and maybe apply at some point in your life. Because if you don't write it down, you are not going to remember it, and you damn sure are not going to apply it. I heard a wise man once tell me that, Dre, what did he say? He said, I prefer a short pencil over a long memory, because our memories are not that great to remember details. We remember energies and emotions and how we felt, but 99% of the stuff that gets said to us, we do not remember it, simply because too many things get said. We're not going to remember everything. So taking notes on the things that you're taking in is it's like a two-step verification for your brain. If any of you use like Gmail, they had this thing called two-step verification. A lot of apps and software use it now, that not only to log in, not only do you got to have your password, but there'll be a second step, right? Second step might be you got to do this captcha. That's like a low level, like do the captcha, check the box, I'm not a robot. Then the next, for a lot of sites, it'll be something like answering the secret question. What was your first name of your first pet, or what kind of car did you drive, or where was your first job, or something like that? Who's your first girlfriend, or something like that? What's your mom's middle name? That's the next level of two-step verification. Then another level will be you got to tell them your phone number, and then when you log in, right, they send a text message to your phone, and you got to type in the code that they sent to your phone next to your password, after your password, just to make sure it's still you. That's what we call two-step verification. And in your brain, that's what they call it in the software world, but in your brain, two-step verification is not just listening to something and getting excited about it and saying it was great, but actually taking notes on it, because now you're giving your brain a second signal that this is important. The first signal is you listened to it and you took it in the first place, but the second signal is I'm taking notes, I'm writing this down. So now your brain is getting it twice. It heard it the first time, and now you're writing it down, so now it's quote unquote hearing it a second time. That's what happens when you take notes on things. You're letting your brain know that this is actually something serious. 'Cause listen, how much garbage do you hear every single day? A whole bunch, right? So if you're hearing garbage and it's on this level because you're just hearing it, but when you're taking something that's great to your brain takes everything literally. It's still on the same level. All you're doing is listening to it. So how does it know which one is more valuable than the other? It doesn't know. But when you write it down, okay, now it goes from this level, I just heard it, to this level. Oh, I heard it, and I'm saying it to myself again by writing it down. So writing things down, taking notes is two-step verification for your brain. Point number 2, when we're talking about taking notes here, when you write things down, don't just write it down and say, all right, I wrote it down, I took notes. Now you got to review your notes. Review the things that you wrote down. Just like when you were in school, you took notes in class, right, from what the teacher said, and then you went home and hopefully at some point you studied your notes. Why? So that you can remember what the hell was said, so you would actually have the information, hopefully retain it for long enough that you could pass the damn test and maybe retain it for the rest of your life. That's the goal. I know school doesn't always work out that way. Trust me, I know that. But reviewing your notes, not just taking them, but reviewing them so that you can actually apply it, so it actually sticks, so it becomes something that you internalize. Because otherwise, it's just like exercise. You did it, but what is it actually going to do for you in the long run if you don't have a plan? If you're not actually following a strategy, you're just going in there making yourself sweat, but then you don't even know what the next step is, and the next step, and the next step. That's why you got to review the things that you're doing so you can see what's working, what's not, and you can remind yourself what you heard. So then eventually, hopefully, you can apply it. Not just listen to it and like it, but actually apply it. And point number 3, if you don't take notes on the things that you're listening to that you like, that you think are useful to you, you know what's going to happen? You're going to feel great in the moment if it's somebody that you like what they said, or you like they got you inspired and fired up and motivated, or whatever adjectives you want to use. If you don't take notes on it, it'll feel great in the moment, but then as soon as it's over, you go right back to zero. It's kind of like having sex, right? It feels great in the moment, but as soon as you climax, you go right back to zero. It's kind of like it didn't even happen. Like you're like, damn, where did all that energy go that I was just feeling 10 seconds ago? That's how it is. It's the same thing when you don't take notes on things. As soon as that moment is past, however long it is, if it's a whole weekend, you go to somebody's seminar, if it's 10 minutes because you're watching a YouTube video, if it's a half hour, you listen to a podcast, as soon as it's over, it's over. It might as well have not even happened for you. So that's why you got to take the notes on it so you can remember what you heard and then actually apply what you heard. So let me recap what I just told you. Tell you what I just told you again. It's about taking notes. Number 1, well, overall, first of all, we don't remember at least 90% of what we hear. So if you're not taking notes on it, most of the stuff you heard, even if it was great, you won't recall it, and you damn sure can't use it. So point number 1 is take notes when you listen to a podcast or a YouTube video or something that's supposed to be learning based. Take notes on it so you can actually learn from it and do something with it. Number 2, after you take notes, review your notes. Review the notes. Don't just take them and then let them go collect dust somewhere. Review the notes just like you would review your class notes in school so you can study for the test, so you can pass the test, because all of life is a test. And number 3, if you do not take notes, you're going to feel good for the moment, but then as soon as that moment passes, just like having sex, as soon as you hit that climax moment, it goes away. At least for men. I can't speak for females, but at least for men, when that moment of climax passes, you won't have anything else to show for it, but you can say that it happened back then, but you don't remember nothing about it. So make sure you're taking notes on everything you take in, especially when you listen to something that came from me. If you want more from me, you already know where it is. It's the podcast. It's called Work on Your Game. It comes out every single day. We got over 1,000 episodes of that podcast. Ain't no podcast better than mine when it comes to personal development and taking yourself to the next level, especially nobody solo, definitely nobody solo, but even interview podcasts. Nothing better than this. It's every single day. I'm not regurgitating the same information. I'm not giving you the same topic twice ever. It ain't even no podcast you can compare to me, honestly, to keep it real. I'm in the category of one. Again, it's called Work on Your Game. Everywhere you can find podcasts, my podcast is on there. Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, everywhere else. Work on Your Game, DreAllDay.com. My book, Work on Your Game, using the pro athlete mindset to dominate in business, sports, and life, is available now where all books are sold, physical, digital, and of course the audiobook, 100% done by me. You have learned from these philosophies, the mental game, business, sports, life, anything you do, this is the book for you. Go get it now and work on your game. Dre all day.